what we're seeing within the economic system, within city centers, is one of the most unhealthy lifestyles that exists. Aside from all the media, the politics, and all the various things going on in our world right now that, a lot of people are paying attention to and are to some degree important to pay attention to and understand in terms of where we are at in our world. But aside from all that, there's this other aspect of our entire journey, our reality here, that leaves a lot of people feeling lost. And it's the idea that everything out there, which we see, which we understand within our culture and all that sort of stuff, is not necessarily promoting the idea or allowing us to truly go back and connect within, connect to ourselves, and ultimately feel like we have a deep understanding of what we want to do and what we're doing in our lives and what we feel good about as a whole. So what happens here in the way our culture currently functions is that people end up being told ultimately what it is that's important, what it is they need to pay attention to, what it is that is going on in the world as, sent down from a specific media source or whatever it might be. And, this is the ultimate focus. Not only that, but our world is constantly reflecting that, for example, with the economy, the economy always has to be moving. It's going to be the dictator of whether you have a job, whether you have a home, whether you have this, whether you have that. It's going to be the dictator of what we do in our world to keep, things clean, to keep things, running in an optimal form. And if it doesn't mix into the economy properly, well, then we're not going to allow that to happen. So you have all of these factors within our socioeconomic realities that are ultimately saying that these are the important things to focus on, and nothing is pushing us back to go inward. Nothing is asking us to say, hey, what are you going to reflect on within yourself about how you actually feel about something, not what culture or programmed realities are telling you how to feel. So a guy by the name of Karl Marx, he broke down this whole concept of alienation, which is ultimately this idea that humans, especially in the modern world and so forth, and at the time when he was observing it, were essentially alienated in a number of different ways. They were alienated from nature, they were alienated from others, they were alienated from their work, and they were alienated from themselves, right? And the reality of the situation with each one of these, and if we kind of go through each one a little bit here, we'll kind of get a little bit of a deeper understanding as to how this applies to our world today, how this applies to your life today, and then we're going to dive into ultimately what you can do to start gaining back this connection. Because ultimately, alienation is the idea that you no longer feel connected to your reality. In fact, you don't even feel connected to yourself. And this is a very, very, very common, prominent issue that's going on in our world right now. Look at the amount of people struggling with mental health, the amount of people struggling with depression, whatever it might be, right? Why is that happening? Well, you can have a multitude of factors that some study somewhere is going to show, because in our current world, we're obsessed with the idea of having some external figure tell us what's going on in our world. And a lot of times science is just that. It's an idea of, hey, let me do a study to try and figure out what's going on, but I'm only going to look at this much of something. Oh, let me do a study to, understand what's going on, but I'm only going to look at this much of something, right? And the repetitiveness of that suggests that we're constantly searching, trying to figure out what is wrong with the way people feel currently as the depression, the mental health, and all the different issues continue to be on the rise. What is that telling us? We're not doing the very basic thing of moving back into self. Instead of looking inward, we continue to look out there for all of our answers, and we want to use just this thing, just the mind, just the logical analytics, right, to try and figure it all out. Because to go back to our gut instincts seems completely foreign. We're alienated from our intuition, the deeper sense of ourself, the gut instincts that tell us, hey, I feel more inclined to do this versus do that. Society says that I should be doing this one and not this one, but I feel more inclined to do this over here, right? Why are we not following these things? Why are we stuck in the programmings of reality, right? So let's start a little bit with nature. Look at the average city center out there. Look at what our world and commerce is really pushing people to do. City centers are designed for commerce. They're designed to bring a whole bunch of business together to one tiny area. Then you're going to smash as many people as you possibly can into that area such that you can have a flowing economy stuck to one small area so that you can continually to drive up housing prices, to drive up condo prices, to drive up, businesses, and the rent in those areas are all going to go through the roof. You're going to have a lot of people buying and selling in those small areas. You're going to be able to put a lot of huge businesses like banks and shopping centers and all that sort of stuff in this small area because a ton of people are there. Cities are not designed for people to be healthy. They're not designed for people to feel good. They're not designed for people to have a quality of life. They're designed for things like convenience. What is that convenience based on? It's based on the idea that, it fits within the economy. It fits within your busy day that has been forced upon us. It fits within this economic system that tells you constantly need to be making money just to survive. What we're seeing within the economic system, within city centers, is one of the most unhealthy lifestyles that exists. And as drinking goes through the roof, smoking marijuana goes through the roof, using other distractions like food goes through the roof, and using medications goes through the roof. In all of these city centers, as people become more and more disconnected from themselves, from nature, from real life. When I say that, I don't mean real life as in, what's real and what's not real. I'm talking about deeper aspects of life. We continue to just justify it in the name of the economy. We justify it in the name of the hustle of getting a job or, entrepreneurship or doing whatever it is. We justify doing things that are completely contrary to a state of being within ourselves that's natural, that feels good, that allows ourselves to slow down, to breathe, to relax. And nature is one of the key missing elements of city centers. And people will say things like, there's a park in the city, and that park in the city is my connection to nature. And it's kind of like saying, there's different types of food out there. There's fast food and there's high quality organic food. They're both food. They both can feed you. They will both provide you with some nutrients. But which one would you rather have on a long-term basis? The fast food, which is probably not going to make you so healthy in the long term, or the high quality organic food that's going to keep you healthy in the long term? That's what a city in a park in a city is like. You're still surrounded by the constant noise, the super bad air quality, the intensified amounts of Wi-Fi and radiation that are way higher in city centers, right? You have way more cell towers. You have a much higher concentration of these challenging aspects of our society. Overtoxification within the society increases because within that city, things are a lot more intense. So what are we doing on a regular basis as humans to actively connect again with nature? We wonder why we're not feeling good. We wonder why we feel disconnected. We wonder why, we're just kind of moving from one thing to another, to another, to another. When's the last time you connected with nature? When's the last time you truly connected with the resonance of a tree, the resonance of the earth, the resonance of a quiet park? And I don't mean going there just to kind of put in some headphones and listen to music. I'm talking about going there and truly being in that space. They call this forest bathing in a number of different countries. The idea that you move into the forest, you go in there, for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it might be, and you truly disconnect. I remember having a conversation with the Survivor Man. This is Les Stroud. He goes out into the forest and he brings a camera with him and no other supplies, and he survives off the land. And at one point he was talking about the idea that, it takes him sometimes about 1.5 to 2 days when he first gets out into his next project where he's out on his own. It takes him 1.5 to 2 days just to get disconnected again from the city. And here's a guy who lives out in the country a little bit, but still in a bit of a busy city center within there, nothing close to a regular big city, but it takes him about a day and a half to, sometimes 2 days, he says, to fully disconnect and be back into the connection with the earth and all that sort of stuff, right? So even when you're going with the intention of being out there for a little while, it takes some time. So the more we can actively connect with nature and fully allow that disconnection from the city to happen, the more we're going to start feeling a little bit more at home. The more we're going to start being more inclined to be connected with ourselves, to be connected with the calmness, the relaxation, right? So this is a key thing to be looking at nature. Are we disconnected from nature, right? Really asking that question, and then ultimately, what are we doing about that? Asking the question, what out there in our world is supporting the idea of nature, or is everything done in the name of the economy? when the economy is the basis to which every decision is made, to which every decision government does. I've been listening to a lot of videos lately, and they're all talking, it's all high profile, whether they're researchers, scientists, politicians, whatever it might be, they're talking about how dangerous it is to suggest that we need to do something without considering the economy. And why that's dangerous is, according to the way we currently live our lives, the economy is everything. Everything relies on that. Everything moves based on that. People are fed based on that. The economy is the deciding factor as to how everything in our world happens. So when we wonder why change doesn't happen, when we wonder why new energy technologies don't come forward, when we wonder why great solutions that, end big pharma, for example, we wonder why they're not coming forward and they're being hidden and suppressed. It's because they threaten the economy. So within our current state of being, are we able to take a solid state of being into our work? Can we stop judging the things that we're doing? Are we disconnected from our job in that we're not seeing how it can help us grow?